It's time for Remodel Revolution. And now, an award-winning contractor with over 40 years experience. Here is Alex Guthrie.
Welcome to another episode of Remodel Revolution. I'm your host, Alex Guthrie. This is the show where there are no sports, no politics, and no mean people. We're all nice here. Welcome to the show. We're coming to you live from the Remodel Revolution World Headquarters, deep in the heart of the great state of Texas. And as always, this time of year, it's hot. It's hot, but not in this studio. It's freezing. So welcome to the show. Today I have a incredibly amazing young lady that I just adore, Poonam Patel with Urban Loop Studios. She's our co-host today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
It's so good to have you here, and I appreciate you kind of jumping in here at the last minute for me.
You're welcome. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Thank
with
you.
Alex.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Today, I've got a monologue that I'm going to read, and then Poonam and I are going to talk about it. Everyone is a writer, a critic, and an editor in the age of social media. Social media platforms have become the de facto historians, newspapers, and nightly news, all wrapped up into one 280-character tweet. Followers have become critics, opinion editors, and potential adversaries if they happen to disagree with the writer's point of view. Communicating through the virtual universe is the ultimate shield, which with a simple click you can block or silence a person's words or opinions, making you the king or queen of your 12 by 17-inch digital world. Why is this important? It enables people to cancel you out, cut you off, and cease all communications with the click of a button. This has not only affected our ability to talk, it has affected our ability to disagree and to confront with civility. It has also removed the boundaries of civil behavior and changed the way the next generation talks to each other and the rest of the world. The obsession that we are all developing with that little screen in front of our face and the 10-second bites it provides us as we scroll through the virtual universe is creating a communication nightmare for many of us that grew up with face-to-face communication and person-to-person contact. As we've had to adjust to our new way of engaging, we've also had to adjust how we say it. In other words, our words, whether written or spoken, are often interpreted out of context and not as intended. Some of this is generational. My generation, for instance, understands and is quite comfortable with face-to-face and person-to-person discussions for many reasons. We have learned to read the person we're communicating with and judge their responses and their energy. This is something that cannot be done on a screen. I can see it in your face is a common response. I don't feel good energy, or I do feel good energy. These are common expressions that can only be felt when two people are face-to-face physically or in the same room. It is very important that when you're having discussions with your clients that you understand these telltale signs, as it makes them more comfortable and there's a mutual energy and alignment of ideas, or when confronting the challenges that exist on every single project. Our younger counterparts, on the other hand, have not grown up with this, what is quickly becoming an archaic way of communicating in their worldview. In today's world, communicating with people, particularly younger people, is a new and different adventure for pretty much anybody over the age of 50. The constant distraction of a phone in someone's hand can be unsettling. I'm reminded of a story I tell often when I was interviewing a potential client, and during the entire conversation, she was busy texting on her phone and never once looked at me. This was a new way of communicating I had not confronted. It made it difficult for me to know whether she even heard what I was saying or if she even cared. On the other hand, I was recently challenged with needing information and measurements on a bathroom that I was quoting, but could not enter the property because of COVID-19 concerns. The homeowners, a young couple, communicated with me through video and through my direction got me the measurements that I needed. And we had a very productive meeting. It was great. We could have done it in our pajamas and no one would have known. Using virtual communications is a major enhancement in our ability to do business and to be productive. As we become more adaptive to sharing information on our screens, we have become far more efficient and created a user-friendly experience for our clients. So today, with all this in mind, when I wrote this, I thought, who could I talk to? Who could I get in here to talk to about this? Well, of course, I called Poonam. And Poonam is a young entrepreneur. She owns her own business. She's an architect. And she is at that age where she understands this a lot more than I do because she grew up with it. And we've talked about this in the past. She also studies a lot of people's traits and how to communicate with people, and she's perfect for this. So I've already introduced you, but welcome again to the show. You are the owner of Urban Loop Studios. You're an architect, and you're just a really brilliant woman.
Well, thank you. I love starting the morning off with amazing compliments. Thank you.
Well, what did you think about my comments on communicating with people these days?
I think communicating is extremely important, but nobody ever tells you how to do it. They just, make these generic comments like communication is key, communication is important. Most of the issues, if you talk to lawyers and insurance agents, they're always talking about how communication was poor or things weren't clear enough, resulting in detrimental results. And so I began a journey of discovering how do you communicate well, especially for the survival of my career, wanting to become successful and wanting to respect my elders and my mentors at the same time, wanting to use the technology that's been available to me, for example, technology, and just trying to figure out how to bridge that gap. And so I've come across so many amazing pieces of information that I just wish people really knew how to incorporate and use it to their advantage. I feel like in the world of social media, I think it's great that people are practicing how to write. I love that people are reading. I love that people are being open and sharing. However, I feel like with some of these amazing golden nuggets of information, we could just all begin to understand each other better, communicate better, and really, at the end of the day, get the results that we want out of life. Whether it's wanting to have a better relationship with your client or somebody in your personal relationship, or just wanting to understand your coworker better and reducing the amount of distress those relationships cause if you just understood something about them.
One of the things that, one of the reasons that this was such a hot topic with me personally is because of all of the stuff we're seeing now when you get on social media. And it's a war zone. I mean, it's really, really difficult to go on there and enjoy being there half the time because of the way that people have become kind of unhinged, and they've lost their they've lost their ethics, and they're willing to go on and what I meant by this whole piece was how people go on, they say something ugly, and then they block you so you can't respond, or they click you off. And how that is, or is it, and I think it is, moving into, now we have a group of people that are in our streets, and they're young and they're abusive. And I think it's because they haven't had to play by any person-to-person rules. I think they're so used to communicating virtually where there aren't any rules, where there's no one there to slap them in the back of the head when they misbehave, that it becomes a habit. And I'm concerned that over time, this bleeds over into the business part of our lives, where we have a harder time. I've noticed some huge changes in the way people are doing business now in construction. It's the way they're structuring deals, the way they communicate with each other. I see contractors getting fired off jobs all the time in mid project, not because they're bad guys or do anything wrong, but because a homeowner just wakes up and willy-nilly wants to go a different direction. And it's part of the way they're structuring deals, but it's part of the way that people are communicating and not having any real boundaries in standards and ethically. And I'm real concerned about that, because it's really starting to get weird out there, where I see people doing. I've talked to friends of mine that are contractors, and I go, what kind of arrangements are you making with homeowners? Now, forever, I've always done a contract, and there's been a contractor's fee in it, whatever. It's just a standard deal. Well, a lot of those guys, they're not doing that anymore. They have sort of an agreement, not really a contract, which to me is a non-committal. It's a non-commit. It's kind of like if I don't like you and I want to get rid of you, or if you don't like me and you want to get rid of me, no harm, no foul. Mm-hmm. And so it's not a real obligation to the project. It's just odd to me. Mm-hmm. Are you seeing anything like that? Do you see that in your practice?
I write my own contracts. I'm very meticulous about contracts. I actually, in our industry, we have a standard contract called, A series.
AIA,
yeah. We have the B101, and we have ones for consultants and contractors. But I find that language to be almost like Mandarin. Nobody understands it unless if you're a lawyer. And for me,
there's a reason for that.
I need my clients to understand what they're signing. Uh-huh. So I like to consider myself the queen of contracts, because I actually go through and translate it in a way where it has meaning. What does this mean? And to your point, in terms of communication, after my contracts, I have these line items that I ask clients to initial. And one of the line items, so there's a couple of things that I do. One, in my communications with clients, I'm very transparent. I don't paint this picture of everything's hunky-dory and your dream house is going to come true and we're going to do everything and it's going to be amazing. I tell them, hey, this is like taking a flight. We don't know how much turbulence there's going to be. We don't know for how long, but I promise you once we land and we get to our destination, it'll be amazing. And so I'm very clear with them.
I love that. I think that's great. So we're going to take a flight. We're probably gonna fly through a hurricane or two, but we'll land safely.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
And so I tell them very upfront, during the first consultation, I'm very clear about how this process is going to be like. It's not going to be all roses and rainbows. There's going to be some rough patches, and I let them know exactly when those are. It's usually whenever we don't get to play and design anymore. It's usually where you have to make these hard decisions because your budget can't afford everything. We have to make some hard choices.
Do you tell them that there is a 2-letter word in the English language that they're not going to like, and that's the word no?
I've learned as a woman it's hard to say no. And I've learned
it's hard to accept the word no.
Agreed. That's a whole different conversation. Different ways of how to say no without saying no. We should do one on that.
No, I call it the alternate idea. I have an alternate. Can we do this? Hey, I have an alternate idea. No. Go ahead.
So I'm upfront with them from the very beginning that this is going to be, there's going to be, expect some turbulence, and I'm going to let them know in advance where those patches usually come. It's usually whenever we move from design phase into actual floor plans. And then usually when the budget comes, everyone's super depressed.
At the beginning or at the end?
During.
Both.
During. And then when the demolition happens or some of the construction starts happening, everybody gets happy again.
Oh, yeah,
The clients
yeah.
are holding hands and kissing in front of me.
Yeah.
But then when cabinets are being built and it appears that no work is being completed
Yeah.
because it's actually happening off-site at a workshop, then the clients start getting...
They get antsy.
Yeah,
They
so...
get antsy.
Yeah, so I think it's a matter of...
Because the money is still going out. They go, I
Yeah.
don't see anything getting done, but I'm still getting these big bills. And you go, well, it's being done. It's just not being done here.
Yeah. So communicating that, right?
Yeah.
So I think those are all really important, how you can communicate to your clients so that you're managing expectations and not leaving them in the dark, making that extra effort to let them know, hey, this is what's going on, so that then they have the ability to make choices on their end.
So
of
do
how they're
you
gonna respond.
do you help manage the project, all your projects? You work with the contractor and the owner, or do you just hand the contractor the plan and say, call me, I'll be at the beach?
Both. I've done that before. I was on the beach and I got a photo from my tile guy asking me, hey, do you want the tile to be, landscape or portrait? And then I used my iPhone, circled the one I want, sent it off, and then back to the beach.
I've got clients like you. Yeah, I know that. Excuse me, I need to get another Mai Tai. I'll call you later.
But to answer your question, yes, I do. Most of my projects come with construction administration services. It's usually once every 2 weeks, and if some clients want me there more, then I'll charge extra for that.
So do you limit the amount of meetings, calls? I know that some people, with some clients in particular, you have to sort of regulate. You tell, after you've called me 3 times a day, it's $75 a call.
I typically do not.
You're too nice.
I don't. For me, it's customer service. I want those 5 stars. I want my clients to be happy. However, to your point,
You got 5
If-
stars?
I have 5-star reviews.
Wow.
Yeah,
What'd that cost?
it cost
Do
me
you buy the star? Or? No, I'm kidding. She's actually incredible. Everybody gives her 5 stars.
So, I mean, I don't, I just set the expectations, right? So whenever construction's happening, whenever construction documents are happening, those are the critical times where changes are extremely difficult to come by without having a financial consequence or a scheduled consequence. So I let the clients know, hey, I make them sign off on the design saying, hey, I approve this. We're moving into construction documents. I understand that any changes moving forward are going to result in addition, time delay in the schedule and potentially cost more. And so basically what we call change orders. And so, again, communication is key. I'm letting them know that, hey, you're initialing this saying you're okay with us moving into the next phase. So then that puts them in a notice, like, this is what, we can't make any more changes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You're tough. See, tough women come in small packages. That's what I'm telling you. Hey, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, more with Poonam Patel. We'll be right back. The hardest working and arguably most important system in our homes is our air conditioning and heating system. It heats the air, it cools the air, and it filters the air. That's why it's so critical to have it checked and maintained by the very best professionals available. It's time to contact Total Air and Heat at totalair.com. Get that system pruned and tuned. If you want to have the very best experience, you've got to hire the very best company. Total Air's employees are honest, well-trained, and thoroughly background checked. I never have to worry about sending their technicians out to my clients' homes. Family owned and operated for 3 generations, Total Air and Heat has been a fixture in North Dallas for over 60 years. Total Air is a proud dealer of the Trane air conditioning systems, and you know how hard it is to stop a train, so give them a call at 972-881-0020. That's 972-881-0020, or contact them at totalair.com today. You know, it's challenging times right now to do business, regardless of the business that you're in. When you're an architect or a contractor, you're particularly a remodeling contractor, you are really a service business. So you're having to deal with personalities. They're having to deal with your personality. You have to deal with their personality. Kind of goes both ways. And there's certain ways to deal with it. And Poonam and I are we've been talking about contracts and how she communicates with her clients through her contract and sets expectations and kind of sets the rules. But now I want to talk about how you communicate with them. When I'm talking about like virtually, do you deal a lot of your clients? I know mine are. We do a lot more. I just had a client that lived in Hong Kong, and it was really cool. Now, the only problem was when I would call them in the morning and I'm having coffee, they're having wine. And so the conversations were kind of interesting.
You're wired up and they're...
Yeah, luckily for them, I quit drinking 5 years ago. So when I talk to them in the morning when they're having coffee, and at night I wasn't having wine. And so we actually could have a productive meeting on the phone. But what has really changed everything is the video aspect of communication now, where you can do video chats and things like that. And like I was saying in my monologue, I had a client that we were just quoting their bathroom when the pandemic, when they shut us down. And so, they had kids, and at that point, you know, we're like, we're not going anywhere near your house. Who knows? Nobody knew anything. And so I called them and I said, I need these measurements. And we did a Zoom or something, and it was really fun. And it's amazing how all of this technology has changed the way we communicate. Now, in the old days, when I was a kid, when I was young and a young contractor, and we had pagers, you know what those were?
Oh, yeah, I know what
a little
pagers
box on your belt that the battery would run out on, because we also didn't have lithium batteries. You had to wait the next day. Like, you would call and leave a message on an answering machine, and then you would wait for the next, and you waited. I mean, you didn't expect a call back immediately. Our world was a lot slower. But nowadays, if I don't respond immediately, they get mad. I mean, they want me now. And I'm terrible about it, because I'll have something on my mind and I'll go, I'll just pick the phone up and call you. I just had this on my mind. I thought I'd talk to you about it before I forgot it. It's just totally different. So when you're communicating with your clients and you're like discussing ideas and things like that, I know you're using the same technology I'm using, only you probably use it a lot better. But tell me your experience with particularly the virtual type of communication.
I think it's great. I love that. I tend to want to look at the opportunities and the moments that we have. And I think before, we were only working with the select age group of people who have been able to use technology like the House Party app or Zoom, Google Hangouts, so all these video conferencing platforms. And I love it because it cuts out the travel time. It's efficient. You save time, right? And more importantly than anything else, nonverbal communication is 80% of the message, which is not captured in a phone call. There's this amazing...
So nonverbal being the video aspect?
Nonverbals, meaning like facial expression.
Right.
Your eyes, you have so many muscles on your face. And you
Is
can...
that what those are?
So you can tell when somebody's happy, or, when somebody's kind of doing this thing, like after you say something,
I got muscles.
they're doing like,
I got
so
muscles.
then it allows you to respond to that.
Right here. See my muscles? Sorry.
So it allows you to respond to nonverbals, the facial expressions. And so it gives you a moment to pause and reflect instead of, kind of bulldozing your message across the moment that you have on the Zoom call. You have the ability to pause and say, okay, something I said didn't settle well with this person. Let me try to understand where the confusion is. There's this amazing short video. I highly recommend it. It's by Julian Treasure. He talks about nonverbal communication and how important it is and how to look for the cues. He also talks about tone and pitch. So the different ways you can use your voice to send your message across makes a huge difference. For example, whenever I'm delivering bad news to a client, I could say it like, oh my gosh, I can't believe the contractor did this, blah, blah, blah. And then that's going to create anxiety in my client. It's going to create a lot of anxiety in my client versus me saying it like, there's this thing that I noticed that we should do a little bit differently. I'm on it. They're working on it. So the way that you talk about it and deliver that message matters.
Trust me.
It could mean a matter of being sued or not.
I get more drama calls, and I get drama calls from the superintendent. I get drama calls from the client, and every time they do it, I go, okay, what's the real story here? It's like everybody wants to make their point, and so you're right, and that's why for me personally, and that was the whole point of my monologue this morning, was that communicating over a screen or over a camera can't be nearly as effective as in person. Meeting person to person for that very reason. You read people, you feel energy, you understand. So a lot of times I'll deliver bad news or whatever the news is, and like you were saying, you have to learn how to communicate that in a way that everybody doesn't wig out. It's sort of like this pandemic, and you're watching these politicians trying to figure out how to tell us the bad news so we'll re-elect them. Well, it's kind of, we all have to deal with that in business, so I get it. I totally get it. Now you have some charts you brought with us, and we're going to talk about personality traits in people.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's pop one of them up here.
Yeah, so I think in addition to the nonverbals, it's really important to understand people. And this chart that I have up here right now is something, an exercise that we did when I was working in the corporate world, which basically allows you the opportunity to look at your coworkers and colleagues and try to understand them better. Is this person a driver personality style? Are they expressive? Are they amicable? Or are they analytical? A good example of this would be if you're speaking to an accountant and they're an analytical person, they want to hear communications that involve numbers. They want to know what the details are. They don't want any fluff. They don't want any small talk. They don't want any, hey, it's a different conversation that you would have versus somebody who's expressive. Expressive would mean you would be speaking more from the emotions and being fast and kind of like a cheerleader kind of personality almost.
See, I think I'm a driver style. And when I talk to the analytical guy, like the accountant, I go, just tell me the dadgum number. I don't care. Just give me the number so I can make a decision.
So, understanding people allows you to decide, okay, how am I going to communicate with this person? But it'll also streamline the communication. You can connect better. You can get your message and your meaning across faster and quicker. And I just think that that just serves whatever cause. It just helps your cause.
You have to, when you're dealing with, regardless of the business you're in, when you're dealing with other human beings, particularly if you're in business, even if you're working behind the cash register, you have to learn how to and you do eventually in business, and I know I do, and mine's just instinctive, just because I've made all the wrong. I've said all the wrong things. I've said, I was raised in a house with 4 sisters, a mother and a grandmother. The first thing that I learned how to do was duck because of my mouth. It was a really good way to learn how to communicate. Learning how to communicate with 6 women taught me how to communicate with anybody. I mean, I could communicate with a Martian and make them smile because it was like self-defense. But you have to you get to a point to where you understand certain personality traits, and that's by dealing with people. And I'll meet with somebody and I'll go, or I'll kind of instinctively think, well, I know this trait. I understand exactly what this person is saying because I've dealt with it before. And this is how I think I need to deal with them going forward. I think that's what you're saying. You have another chart that I really like, this second chart that was a lot simpler for me to read because there wasn't so many words on it.
This one is if you want to have a better relationship with people that you love, like your spouse or a family member. This one is pulled from a book called The 5 Love Languages. And it's basically saying there are 5 ways you can make people feel loved. You can either perform an act of service, which is like do the dishes for somebody. You can spend quality time with them. You can give them a gift. Physical touch, like a pat on the back or like a high five or something like that, and words of affirmation, like compliments. And so these are all different ways you can show people through your actions that you love somebody. And this works great in the work world as well. Like with clients, I'm giving my clients gifts. I'm giving them the time that they deserve, even if it's like a personal conversation, something that might be going on in their life. Doing things for them, just to keep the relationship going. And I think it's been proven to be successful for me.
Mm-hmm. Well, because business is a personal thing with all of us. Everybody wants to be treated like they're important. Your clients do. And so you have to learn how to, and you should make them feel important, and they are important.
Mm-hmm, they sure are.
There's never any doubt about that. But you run into people, I do, particularly when I'm dealing with a whole lot of subcontractors and vendors and people. There's some people just don't have a good outgoing personality, and you have to learn to deal with that. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, more of Poonam Patel and that pretty smile. Sometimes it's a question of do I call or don't I call the foundation repair company? Well, what if I tell you that I know a foundation repair company that will tell you if you don't need foundation repair? That's right. Hargrave & Hargrave Foundation Repair has been in business for over 50 years, and they know the difference. One of the last family-owned foundation repair businesses in North Texas. Not only are they honest, they know what causes your foundation to move, and they know how to fix it. Don't be duped by fly-by-night foundation companies that provide shortcuts and messy fixes. Call Hargrave & Hargrave Foundation Repair at 972-442-3415 at the first sign of trouble. Hargrave uses the Chance helical pier system exclusively because it's the highest quality, most reliable helical pier money can buy. 972-442-3415 or contact them at hargravefoundation.com. Imagine this, a totally customized, organized, and beautiful master closet. Imagine a pantry designed and specifically for your storage needs, an office that fits right into a perfect space, a garage that you could actually park your car and find your tools. Imagine your home totally organized. Well, it's time to turn your imagination into reality and call my friends Closets by Design DFW. For over 20 years, Closets by Design has been making dreams come true for North Texas homeowners every single day. Backed by a sales force of over 30 experienced designers, Closets by Design builds all of their cabinets locally, supporting our community. Go to dallas.closetsbydesign.com and check out the amazing specials, or give them a call at 972-361-0010. That's 972-361-0010, Closets by Design. Welcome back. I'm here with Poonam Patel. We're talking about communicating with clients and different personality traits. And Poonam and I have been showing you some charts. And if you're watching us on YouTube or Facebook Live, it's pretty interesting. We have one more chart she wanted to show, but I couldn't read it because it kind of looked like, it sort of looked like a menu in a Chinese restaurant to me, but I'm not there's lots of letters and stuff on there. So why don't you tell me what this is?
Absolutely. So what we're looking at here is what we call the Myers-Briggs personality types. So there's basically 8 different personality types. So you can either be introverted or extroverted, which is what the I and the E's are for. You can be sensitive or intuitive. You can be a thinker or judgmental, or you can be perceptive and a feeler. And so based on these, so there's a quiz you can take. It's free. You can Google it, and you begin to identify what dominant personality types you are. So what this helps you understand is if you're talking to an introverted person and they're being very quiet and reserved, it doesn't necessarily mean that they don't like you. Mm-hmm. It just means that they're introverted people and they're more reserved.
Will this apply to all my different personalities, all my different people I carry around with me? I've got like 2 or 3 different ones.
Put them in a jar, pick one for the day. But doing this helps you understand who you're speaking with, and
so you need to have your clients take this test before you do business with them.
You necessarily don't have to take the quiz. You can begin to think in these terms, in these 8 personalities.
So you start understanding them.
Yeah.
Okay.
During the consultation.
Well, I only have like 3 people in my head, but I don't know if I get to where I have to do all 8, I'm in bad trouble. I mean, they're putting me away. So when you, I always tell people that when I'm meeting with a potential client, I'm actually interviewing them.
Absolutely.
And so you're using all of this knowledge that you have, and you've done a lot of research into personality traits and how to read people. What do you think of me as a client?
Oh my gosh, you would be an amazing client because you're a contractor. You speak our language.
Okay. So
I don't have to discuss budgets with you.
Yeah, because I don't care.
Amazing.
It's someone else's money.
Here's a contract. Please sign it.
I didn't know which one of those 8 personalities I was. I don't know who I am today. Today I could be Alex. I could be whoever. Who's here? Who are you? Well, that's interesting because I have gotten, the longer I've been in business, the more I try and read people. Of course, your clients you try and read and understand. But mostly it's when you get into a situation where there's stress, where you have a challenge. Mm-hmm. As you have a challenge, I always say that remodeling is basically a
war zone.
Yeah. It's a war zone, but it's basically a series of challenges you're overcoming. As I like to say, and I have in my book I've been writing for 5 years, your house was not built to be remodeled. So when you start to tear it apart and make changes to it, you are going to have nothing but a series of challenges. That's what it's all about. And it's all about how you handle them. And as you do that, you get into stressful situations with budgeting, with timing, and with a client that's wigging out going, "You found what?"
Yeah.
Or the inspector was here. He had a red tag in his hand. I'll call him.
What you're talking about is so important, how to deal with conversations that are not easy. Crucial conversations, right? And there's this book that I read called Verbal Judo that I highly recommend. Essentially, it was designed for our police officers. when the stakes are so high, when you're dealing with life or death situations, you don't want to always resort to guns. You want to resort to a verbal conversation to see if you can de-escalate it. And so that's what that book was created for, called Verbal Judo. And I've learned so much from it.
Yeah, but if you have a gun, you don't have to say nearly as much. It gets right to the point.
And you know what that's been resulting in the news. But
Yeah,
we don't want to talk
right.
about that.
Okay.
But my point is that the book is amazing because it really helps you. It helps bring awareness around the magic of words. With your words, you can make somebody feel loved or hated. With your words, you can either start a war or generate peace. And it really helps you zero in on that and magnify it. The power of words and how to navigate through these difficult situations, in our case, renovations and dealing with constant opening can of worms. How do you communicate with the client so that you still end up with the 5-star review, you still get paid, and their house gets built in a way that they're extremely satisfied?
I'm still trying to figure out how to get that 5-star review. Poonam, it's been so much fun having you here today. You're an amazing lady. You really are. And you're a brilliant architect. And I love watching you grow, watch your business grow. It's been really a lot of fun. And thank you so much for coming and being on the show with me today. I really do appreciate it. And thank you, Jason, for being our engineer. And thank you, On Air Media, for being our friends and letting us do our show here on set. Thank you to our sponsors. We really, really do appreciate you. And thank you to our audience, of course. Keep sending those emails to me. I've been getting all kinds of messages on Facebook, and occasionally I get a really nice email. Always I get nice emails. I really do appreciate it. And until next week, this is Alex Guthrie signing off. Have a good week and have a happy 4th.
The views and opinions of this program are for educational and entertainment purposes only and are not intended to replace the recommendations of a hired professional. You can catch Remodel Revolution anytime. Follow the show on the website, remodelrevolutionradio.com, or on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest, using the handle @Remodel Revolution Radio. You can always listen to the show on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and TuneIn, and watch the show anytime on YouTube.